I feel they're trying to take from us what belongs to us. Because I talked to my granddaughter about it, and she was, you don't know, Grandma? And I said, no, I'm not hip to all that. She goes, yes, they're trying to imitate us, to look like us. And then she goes, but they never will. And that's true. They can't take that from us. My name is Irene Murillo, and I just turned 79 on the 10th of July. Well, I grew up right here in Boyle Heights. I was born in White Memorial and was raised in East LA, Boyle Heights. This is my neighborhood, I guess. And it's really where I am today because I've experienced a really hard life. You know, when you said that, Latina reminds me of my dad's sister, my aunt, and she's gone now. But to me, Latinas are beautiful, bottom line. And she was an older woman, but she was beautiful. She used to wear bright red lipstick. She used to have a rose in her hair all the time. And early in the morning, like at 4 o'clock, Thea, what are you doing? She'd be putting on her makeup, and I go, why? She goes, you never know who's going to knock at your door. And I remember her. She was beautiful.
My name is Jacqueline, but I go by Jackie, and I'm 23. I grew up in Los Angeles. It's a weird spot. It's technically East LA. It's El Sereno. So both of my parents are from Mexico. They're both met at Guadalajara, which is in Jalisco. I'm actually a first generation. Usually I'm told like I'm not American enough or I'm not Mexican enough. But definitely I feel it's very empowering to be able to represent both cultures. I think that's something I always carry with myself for sure. I don't think there's a way Latinas are supposed to look. I think we all come in different skin colors and different shapes and forms. Yes, I have a lot. Yes, I've seen a few of these, for sure. I don't really feel much for it. The only thing I wouldn't like is that it's starting to become all Latinas look like this. I was in high school around 2016 to 2018, around there. So I definitely saw like the bulky like eyebrows and like the heavy makeup. So I definitely grew up with that trend. And I saw it before it even became popular on TikTok. And I always thought it was normal until people started really pushing that on social media and like, oh, she's a copy and paste Latina. And it started coming from like a malicious place. So that's when I stopped appreciating.
My name is Omar with the others, and I'm 35. I think it's wonderful because it's introducing this look to a new generation. But I also feel like it's important to understand where it came from. And you have these celebrities that are doing this type of makeup and they don't even know where it came from or why it was developed.
My name is Esperanza Sanchez. I'm an Associate Curator at the LA Plaza de Cultura y Arte in downtown Los Angeles. Because originally it was actually a culture that was part of Black culture. So it was very much immersed in jazz and blues and swings of the 1930s and 1940s. So it really emphasizes that style. And so it had this empire kind of waist, pants, skirts, very long trousers. But it also allowed kind of this gender bending between males and females. And so you have a lot of Mexican Americans and Chicanos and Chicanas that really emulated that style because they wanted to differ from what they were being represented as Americans. So they wanted to kind of have this subculture and this identification that's very different.
During the 40s, people that would have like red lips, the twisted eyebrows, and it was a way for them to kind of like combine their both cultures, like being Mexican and mixing them both. So you would have like Latinas that would wear the rengle, but to make it their own, they would put the liner, clip liner. And so it was kind of like them making it their own and saying like, okay, we are both Latinos and we're both Americans.
So the Pachuco style is really emphasizing a lot of the male masculine kind of qualities, and females were also part of that. So Latinos and Latinas were very much immersed in that, especially in the 1930s and 1940s, in particular with Mexican and Mexican Americans. But to this day, people really embrace it.
Hi, my name is Hernandez. I work here in La Plaza de Cultura y Arte as a visual communications manager. And I grew up in East Los Angeles. Growing up, my mom also listened to a banda El Pachuco, which was this band that like they all dressed as Pachucos. And so I was really honored by the way they represented themselves and the way they carried themselves, the values they held. And so an interest sparked. I went to community college and learned about like Chicano studies, and so that drew me even further. And I ended up purchasing a Pachuco zoot suit, and I first started wearing it when I was about 20 years old. I was really captivated by the history, and 81 years after the Zoot Suit riots, it's still very strong here in Los Angeles.
Something that emerged in the 1960s and 1970s, especially with the suits play, but even more in particular in the 80s when you now move into the cholo or chola style, which again is another look that is very similar to the Pachuco and Pachuca style.
Chola makeup is like the thin eyebrows, a little bit of eyeliner, but mostly the lip liner. And before, back in the day, they would use black a lot.
I think the Pachuca style and the chola style are very similar. They're very much subgroups of the origin kind of story of having this independence, but also the most important part is kind of having this, I wouldn't say a division, but separation of we're Americans, we're Mexican American, or Chicano Chicanas. It's just another kind of layer of subculture.
Chola makeup, that's kind of funny because to me, back in the day, it was Pachucas and then Cholas, and then they say gang members, stuff like that.
When I was growing up, it wasn't the best neighborhood, but a lot of the girls wore like their makeup like that, but it was more of a sense of a community.
Not just your future, sometimes it's a cultural thing. You grew up with a certain type of culture and then you kind of just follow within that. I feel being Hispanic, we kind of went through I think it's called a scribe membership, where we can't really leave our identity, and a lot of people want to hop into like the bandwagon, like, oh, that, especially right now, it's like Latinos are the look. And I think one of the copy and paste Latinas, I think we all know who we're talking about, isn't even Latina. I think she was white. So when I saw it, I was like, that's actually insane. Well, I feel like we're always, minorities in general, always gonna be a cosplay to, again, white people, no matter what we say or do. Things like take things very personally, just like this white person can't do that, they can't do this, like that's my culture, and they don't appreciate it. But over time, it's just so tiring and it's exhausting.
I think it's when you appreciate culture, like you're still yourself, but you're able to get stuff in that culture that you like and give them like credit and incorporate it with your style.
I think for me, because I am a historian and I've studied a lot of this history, but also because I grew up in the 2000s, when I think of Latinas in that time frame, sadly, I think of Hollywood, right? The representation and the way that they showed very light-skinned women or medium skin tone, very voluptuous, sometimes lighter hair, darker hair.
I don't feel like there's ever going to be like enough Latina representation. I feel like there's still a lot of ways to go for us to be represented, especially like in the media, also like in the entertainment business.
And again, Hollywood and the media with music, it goes throughout the world. So people are constantly seeing that. So if they're seeing representations of Latinos only being a working class or being kind of like second characters, right? It continues to perpetuate those stereotypes, and that's something that we don't want. But the beautiful aspect about a Latina is that we're so monolithic. We're not all the same. We all come in different shapes and sizes. So when I think of Latinas, I think of a large range of people of different hair, different eye colors, different skin tones, different styles, because it's so diverse, not only within the culture, the ethnicities, but even the languages. So when we look at Latin America, you have all of these individuals who have not only intermixed with the indigenous population, but you have a large European, Asian American population coming in, but also Arabic and African. So when I think of Latinas or Latinos, I think of them as a very diverse group of people that is not all the same.
Can I say something? But I think that we should be proud of our heritage and proud of who we are, because it comes from a long history. Our beauty, like, you can't take it away. You can't take it away with who we are. And we should be proud. It's just, I love my Latina little girls. You know what I mean?